Hello friends, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking about how people have treated me through all of my different looks, and I think that this is really interesting because I have looked so many different ways in my lifetime, and the way that people have treated me has significantly changed throughout the years. So I just think that this really speaks to how societal norms dictate how people treat you and the respect that you get in society, because I've looked so many different ways, and it makes the transphobia, homophobia, fat phobia, it all makes it made it very apparent to me in my life, because I could literally see the difference in how people would treat me throughout the years. So we're going to start from the beginning. Let's talk about me growing up fat and conventionally unattractive. I always felt like because I was existing in a bigger body, even as a kid, I felt like I was less valuable, and I felt like other people valued me less. I learned to look at myself as flawed just because I was existing in a bigger body. And I honestly wasn't even that big. I was a little chubby, but I was a healthy, normal-sized child. And my entire life, I was told that I needed to change that part about myself just because I was existing in a bigger body. I was told that I was unhealthy, and that actually was so far from the truth. I was very healthy as a kid. I was really active, and I ate really, really good for the most part. I mean, sometimes I ate a lot and I binged and I ate like crap, but like all kids do, and I was a normal, healthy kid. And my entire life, people, not just people around me, but like not just my family, but like everybody around me is what I'm trying to say, would tell me that I needed to change parts about who I am and change my body when I was just a child. I mean, I think the first time I remember somebody saying that I should change my body, I maybe was in like kindergarten or first grade. Like, it was incredibly young. Like, the first time I starved myself, I didn't starve myself for very long because I was a kid, but I remember specifically thinking, oh, I could just eat oranges this entire week and be fine. I was literally in kindergarten. Literally, like, I was 5 years old, maybe 4, because I think I was 4 because I went into kindergarten a little bit early. But yeah, I have always been told to change myself, and that is so damaging for a child, incredibly damaging for a child. And since I was experiencing so many people that I loved and respected telling me that I needed to change myself, it made me change myself, obviously. Like, it made me go and exist within the gender norms, within heteronormativity, and I suppressed so much of myself without even realizing that I was suppressing myself. I always used to think when I was younger, oh, well, I could be this type of person, or I could be this type of person, because I never even really knew who I was. I just could bend into all these different roles to fit the comfortability of those around me, because that's what I was told to do. That's what I was shown to do by my elders. Like, I was somebody very close to me when I was young, an adult that I looked up to, told me that they would shift and change their personality depending on who's around them in order for people to like them more. And so I thought that that was so normal, and that was something that I was supposed to do, and it actually was really damaging because it made me always a chameleon. It made me transform into these different people all the time, and I got lost in it, and I didn't know who I was for so long. The first time I really feel like I know who I am is now, this year, at 23 years old. That's the first time I feel like I actually know who I am, and I've gotten the chance to actually get to know myself. Growing up fat as well, it led to a lot of bullying, and that made me dive deeper into diet culture and eating disorders. And I have had an ongoing eating disorder since I was like 5, well, disordered eating for a while, and then I I don't know exactly when you can say that it transformed into an eating disorder, because I've dealt with so many things. I've starved myself, I've dealt with bulimia, I have dealt with orthorexia as well, and just all these different things. And like growing up, it also led to like a lot of disclusion. Even like within my own friend groups, I was always like the odd man out, or the least favorite friend, the fat friend, the funny friend. Like I was never the person that was picked first. Like my best friend always had another best friend that they were closer to, and I've always just been like, my best friend ever is my sister. But like growing up, I was always just in these friend groups, and I never felt like I was valued as much as all these other people that were in my all the other people in my friend groups. And like growing up in school, like I grew up in a really small school, and I definitely felt like disclusion a lot from the rest of my peers. I also didn't really experience relationships until I was a little bit older, like having romantic relationships. And when I did have romantic relationships, these relationships were very toxic because I didn't value myself at all. So I would literally just be in a relationship with anybody that would be willing to be with me, which is so sad because that's what everybody else was doing. So I thought, well, maybe to be valuable, or maybe to feel my worth, this is what I have to do, because that's what everybody else is doing, and everybody else seems happy. Wow. Oh my goodness. And then when I started to get a little bit older and my body started like filling out in the right places, I was seen more as like not like necessarily a sex object, but like the boys would always comment about me, but they wouldn't have the respect like they would have with other girls. Like they would just grab me or smack my ass, and like they do this to other girls too, but I felt like it was more prominent with me. Like I felt there was like a certain disrespect, and I don't know whether it was because I was considerably fatter, but than like the other girls, or if it was because I didn't respect myself enough to like assert myself and make them stop. I don't know, but that was just, it's really harmful. So all of that happening in my childhood and in my youth, it all led to me diving in really deeply to fitness culture when I was 19. So when I was 19, I had moved out of my house. I was living with my boyfriend at the time, and I really had control over what I was eating and what I was doing without people watching me for like the first time in my life. And I was also going through a lot of stuff with, this was my abusive ex-boyfriend, so like the only thing that I really had to cling to was my eating disorder and my fitness lifestyle. So I was using fitness, like don't get me wrong, I love fitness, I love working out, I love staying active, I love eating healthy, but I was specifically using fitness as a form of control and like a life raft. Is that what they call it? Life raft? Yeah. But basically I was clinging to this. I was clinging to the control that I had over my body so that I could feel some sort of control, because everything was out of my control in my life. And it felt so good to get recognition for being smaller. It was always, being smaller was always the goal for me. And so when I finally, not the goal, like it was obviously a goal for me, but like other people would project that onto me. And so other people were always like, I could feel that they were wishing for me to be skinnier. And so when I finally was getting there, there was so much praise and so much attention that I wasn't used to, that it became addictive. Losing weight genuinely became an addiction of mine, because I had never received so much praise in my entire life. People were like, oh wow, you're so fit, you've lost so much weight, you look so amazing. I had guys all over me, I had girls all over me, and I had like I was in a relationship, obviously, and I was faithful in that relationship, but like could tell that I was getting more attention, and like when I would go out, I would get attention from people, and it was addicting because I never had that before. Not to mention my family and how proud they were of me for staying fit, for achieving this body that was literally so unattainable for me. Like, the only way that I could attain the fitness look was literally smoking meth, literally abusing hard drugs, eating 1,400 calories a day, and exercising 2 to 3 hours a day. I was killing myself, and everybody told me how healthy I looked. They told me how fit I was all the time, and I had people for the first time be jealous of me, and that was so addictive. It was so addictive because it was something that I never had before. It was this feeling of being desired, of being wanted, and it literally set me down a rabbit hole, like it literally brought me so much darkness and so much sadness, and I felt so trapped and confined by my eating disorder, and I felt like I couldn't even live my life. Like, I genuinely felt like everything was centered around my body. Everything was centered around the way that I look, and that was because I wanted people to perceive me a certain way, because I was finally getting the respect that I wanted. I was finally getting people to actually listen to what I had to say, and it was I thought it was because I was skinny. I mean, a lot of people, they treat you a certain way because you look a certain way, and it's really messed up. Like, people thought I was so healthy, and I I don't think I've ever been more unhealthy than when I was at my fittest, or what people would think. Right now I'm at my fittest, I'm at my healthiest in my entire life, but people always look back at that and be like, well, what happened to you? Like, why don't you look like that anymore? And it was impossible for me to look like that and be healthy. It was impossible. Like, I was like, if you have to abuse hard drugs to look a certain way and to get down to that size, your body's not meant to be that size. Like, it's not. And I was killing myself because I wanted this attention and validation from my peers. That lifestyle is just not sustainable, and if I would have sustained it, it would have killed me 100%. And it really was, it baffles me that society and those around us treat us so, like, the way that we look impacts the way that people treat us so much, and it literally blows my mind. Like, the thought that I was I was doing hard drugs and people were praising me. People were praising me for the way that I looked, and now because I look a certain way, I'm a little bit fatter now, and that's okay, and I love that for me. I am the healthiest that I've ever been, but now they're concerned about my health. Now they're concerned. Alright, so now I want to talk a little bit about coming out as non-binary, my eating disorder recovery, gaining weight, and how, again, that everybody's perception of me has shifted. When I came out as non-binary, I had gone through this significant change in how I presented myself and how I looked. I mean, I cut all my hair off. I started dressing more masculine. I asked myself the question, what would I look like? What would I want to look like if I never had to worry about people being attracted to me? And that's what I did. And I love it, and I love how I look. But I have noticed that there's a big difference. And I mean, even in people that say that they're allies, I feel like there's still, not in everybody, but in some people, I've definitely noticed that there's still internalized homophobia and transphobia that exists within all of us. And like, some people make that very apparent when I cut all my hair off and I came out as non-binary. When I was thin and feminine presenting or female presenting, I always got, like, out in public, people would do, like, favors for me, and they would talk to me more, and they'd be really friendly to me. Now, nobody really talks to me when I'm out in public. People don't open the door for me anymore. They do a lot less favors for me, or, like, you know, like, people used to always be like, oh, well, you can cut in line right here, like at the grocery store and stuff like that. They'd let me cut, and like that, pretty privilege is a thing. I don't want anybody to tell you that it's not a thing, because it's a fucking thing. I've experienced it firsthand. Pretty privilege is a thing. You get extra stuff, like, and that's nothing wrong with that. Like, you know, you do you, but I don't want to hear anybody ever say that pretty privilege isn't a thing. Totally is. I've experienced it. But now coming out as non-binary, obviously present very differently, and all of that is pretty much stopped. You know, I have a few people open the door for me, or, you know, do really nice things and say hello, but it is a significantly less amount of people, and I do get looks of confusion, and you know what, fuck it, I don't care. Like, I actually think it's really cool that I look so androgynous. But yeah, I definitely experience more homophobia and transphobia just out in the actual world, which is unfortunate that anybody has to go through that. I have lost friends, and people have, like, stopped reaching out to me ever since, like, I came out, and I don't know why. That sounds like a their problem, because, like, I can't help that I'm living in my authenticity, and if that bothers people, then I really don't want to worry about that. I don't have room for that in my life, but it does kind of suck to see that people do treat me differently. Even people that I thought I was close to, they treat me differently now. It's like they almost look at me like I'm a different person, when I'm not a different person. I've been this person my entire life. I've quit presenting, and I've quit putting on a show for other people's comfortability. That's all that it is, and I'm just choosing to be me. I'm choosing to be myself. But it does suck that I have, you know, lost some people. And I constantly get commentary on the way that I look, which is fine. You know, most of the time it's not rude. But, like, I have had people, like, especially at work, because I'm a barista and I have my regulars, they're like, well, why'd you cut all your hair off? Why did you change your name? Like, I liked you better before. Like, I don't care that you liked me better before. Like, I don't care. I like me better now, and I was never Haley. That was just somebody that fit into your molds that of acceptable. That was who that was. Like, Soul doesn't give a shit. Soul's gonna be whoever the fuck they want to be, and I'm so glad that I'm that person. And I don't know, it just, people definitely have treated me differently. People comment on my weight gain too, like with my recovery, like I was just saying, you know, like, people question my health now versus when I was thin, and like, I am so much healthier now than I ever was when I was thin, and people are so judgy. They're just so judgy without even knowing you, without even taking the time to have a conversation with you about things. Like, they're just so judgy, and I don't get that. Something that I thought was really interesting coming through all of these different stages and just learning how people treat me based off of the way that I look is that living in my authenticity sparks so much uncomfortability and even sometimes anger at me. And I just think that's so silly, because it really just, to me, there's no other way that makes sense that you could be that angry if it didn't come down and it didn't boil down to self-hatred and misunderstanding of oneself, and that's why you project that onto others. I mean, I've definitely experienced this. I've been working through my internalized fat phobia, and I've even gone through internalized homophobia and internalized transphobia. I think it's something that's so, and it's so inherent in our culture, and it's something that is learned and taught down to us, and if we don't actively deconstruct it and unlearn it, it's something that can just go undetected about our whole lives. So I get it, but at the end of the day, we are responsible for our triggers, I believe, and we are responsible for growing and for educating ourselves. And I think that when somebody gets so angry at me for just living my truth, being authentic, I think it just comes down to their own insecurities, and that they wish that they could be free and that they could express themselves the way that I do, and that makes them angry because they want everybody to live in a box just like they are, to feel constricted and trapped just like they do. But yeah, living in my authenticity is always going to be worth it. It's always going to be worth everything that I go through, the perception of others, because ultimately the perception of myself is all that really matters, and I've never loved myself more fiercely, and I've never been so proud to live in my skin and to be who I am. And I think that's really amazing, and just by honoring myself and really deciding to live for me, I've been able to become this person that I've always wanted to be. And I think as the years go by, I'm just going to learn more and more about myself, and I'm just going to honor myself more and more, and it's really just such a beautiful process. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys, or share with you guys, my experiences of how people have treated me throughout the years, and how much perception of societal standards really do affect the way that we perceive people. And maybe by watching this video, you can start to dissect how you view people, and how we can all just be better and be more loving and caring and understanding, and live to our truest authenticity without hating on other people for living theirs. Alright, well, I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you're subscribed. Alright, love you. Thanks.